This is The Last Laugh. I'm Matt Wilstein from The Daily Beast, and today on the show, you almost certainly know him as Dwight Schrute from The Office. He hosts the podcast Soul Boom and plays a burnt-out paramedic with a secret heart of gold in the new movie Code 3. Rainn Wilson, welcome to The Last Laugh.
Happy to have a last laugh with you, Matt.
That's great. I'm thrilled to have you here, and I want to start by talking about this new movie, Code 3, which I just got to see and really enjoyed it a lot. So can we kind of start with how this film came to you, why you wanted to do it, what the story behind that is?
Sure. Yeah, I went in to this wonderful producer's office. His name is Matt Smith, and I was meeting about a movie that I was interested in. And he met with me and he's like, you're not right for this movie. But he goes, but just on the fly, he was like, hey, I just got this script and I think you're really right for it. He sent it to me right there and then. It was like, I'm not kidding you, it was about 180 pages, 160 pages. It was way overstuffed. It was written by a filmmaker named Chris Leone and a real-life paramedic named Patrick Pianezza. And it was all based on Patrick's experience as an EMS worker. And I thought it was just fabulous. I mean, it was funny. It was entertaining. It was hard-hitting. There were scenes I had never seen before. But most importantly, to me, it's like it was also about something. It really oddly kind of beautifully pulls the veil back and dissects the American healthcare system by really looking at the underbelly of healthcare in the United States on this one 24-hour wild ride through the armpit of Los Angeles on one final day.
The film takes these wild swings in tone from really funny to really intense to, things are happening that are scary for the characters and then they're laughing, which felt like to me that it must mirror the real life of paramedics. Is that the impression that you got talking to people who do this for a living?
Yeah, I mean, I learned so much doing this movie. One of the things I learned is that frontline workers have one of the most dark and twisted senses of humor that you can possibly imagine. And they have to survive, to cope. So you're exactly right. The reality of folks working in an ambulance is hours and hours that much happening, to a bunch of dumb calls. Someone's got a bee sting or something like that. Or someone essentially just wants transportation to the ER, to, some of the most horrific, scenes of violence and death and mayhem that you can possibly imagine. So it captures that perfectly. And it's one of the things that I've loved about this process is as soon as the trailer came out, this movie has been embraced by the EMS, EMT, frontline worker community like nothing else. And they're like, oh my God, finally they get it. This is it. This is us. So that's been really exciting to be a part of, that this whole community is rallying around this film.
It's nice that they're embracing the film and your character. I mean, they haven't seen it yet, but your character has pretty mixed feelings about his role as as an EMS worker, and is experiencing some pretty intense burnout. So that's also a big part of the film. Was that something that you could relate to in any way, or how did you kind of get in the head of somebody who's feeling that burnt out with their job?
We shot it right after COVID had lifted a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And I think we can all relate to the kind of burnout that COVID gave us. We were just being tested on every front, in politics, at airports, in our stores, trying to educate our kid on Zoom rooms at home. So I had, that kind of personal experience. And I've certainly worked some crappy jobs in my life that have been, now I wasn't saving lives like EMS workers, but jobs where I was making minimum wage and disrespected for my work. I've been there, so I certainly related to that. But that's, the two main things that I took away from this experience was, one, the people that we entrust to save our lives are making the same amount as people who work at Starbucks. And there's something really wrong with that. These people are not valued. They're overworked, underpaid. Then why do they do it? Why not just quit? It's like, well, they want to save lives and they want to make a difference and they're good at it. And it's a vocation more than a job. And, and the other part of that I'll say is that they're really oftentimes disrespected, especially EMS workers are disrespected by hospital employees and ER folk, and also by the customers that call them, the clients that call them, the sick people that call them. It's a beleaguered, overwrought population, and I love telling that story.
I don't want to spoil too much about the film, but we do at one point see your character ending up working in an office and feeling deeply out of place given his lifelong career as a paramedic. There definitely felt like there was some ironic commenting there on the role that you're most known for, working in an office. Was that on your mind at all when you were sort of filming those scenes of this character going from this intense paramedic world to a very sort of boring office setting?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Hurt Locker, where the lead guy's in the grocery store, totally. After having been dismantling bombs, and that's like Randy, who's been saving lives and doing midnight shifts and covered in blood and guts and gore and bullet wounds and psychotic episodes. And then he's an office drone, and he thinks it's what he wants. It thinks it's going to make him happy, and we soon learn that that's a square peg in a round hole for sure.
This year, of course, is the 20-year anniversary of The Office premiering, which is what I think most people still know you from. We're also talking just as the spinoff show The Paper is premiering on Peacock. So there's sort of renewed attention on that show now as well. So I'd love to kind of just go back and talk about your career more broadly, starting with sort of where you were, what was going on in your life and your career when that audition for The Office first came up.
Sure. A lot of people don't remember this, but I'd had a really nice role on an HBO show called 6 Feet Under.
Oh, I very much remember that. That was one of my favorite shows, and I remembered you well from it when The Office premiered.
Oh, that's great. And that is really what opened the doors for me for The Office. HBO was so popular at the time, from Sopranos and Entourage and Sex and the City and The Wire, all of these incredible hit shows, amazing shows that have stood the test of time. And to be on that network at that time was really a godsend. And I know Greg Daniels had seen 6 Feet Under. But I had been a struggling actor for a super long time. I had gotten out of NYU in 1990. I spent the 90s doing theater, never making more than, I think I calculated it once. I don't think as an actor I ever made more than $17,000 in a year for the first 9 or 10 years that I was an actor. And then I started doing some TV and film. I came out to LA. I did movies like Galaxy Quest and Almost Famous. Those were my first two films. And some TV.
Pretty good first two films.
It was an amazing summer. I tell you, I shot them both in the same summer, and wow. I shot a pilot for NBC. So all of a sudden I was kind of on the map in TV and film, and that was great. And but it was several years of struggle of playing a demon on Charmed and playing a a pickpocket on CSI, and just trying to pay off my student loans and pay my rent, and so it was incredible when The Office came through, and I'll never forget that audition experience, because I auditioned and I was sure I was going to get it, Dwight.
Yeah.
I really felt like I nailed the audition, and then the callbacks weren't for months down the line. So I had to wait for the callbacks for months and months. And then they mixed and matched us all. They had me improvise with John Krasinski and improvise with Jenna Fisher and with Steve. And then finally it came to pass. And then we shot our first season. We shot our pilot. And then we shot our first season of a whopping 5 episodes. That's how much NBC believed in us. Like, we're gonna order 6 total episodes of this show, and it was touch and go for a really long time. But one of my favorite memories from that time was we all went out to lunch. I don't know if it was during the pilot or during one of the very early episodes. And Steve, we all kind of got tuna sandwiches at this diner, and Steve is the one who said to us, like, this show could change our lives. Like these could be the roles that we're known for till the end of time, no matter what else we do. And
he knew that early.
I mean, he didn't say, I think that's going to happen. He's like, this really could happen.
Yeah.
And, but he was, and in my head, I was like, wait, what? This little dumb show? Like, there's no way this gets on the air. It's a mockumentary of these bunch of weird looking actors and poorly lit with, handheld cameras. Like, this was during the age of Friends. I was like, how is this going to be, a television hit?
It looked very different from what was the standard must-see TV NBC show, right?
People forget, like, look at what was on the air in terms of comedies in 2004, 2005. And you'll be blown away at, the dreck that was on TV. I mean, Friends was great, and there's a lot of, but there were so many mediocre laugh track shows that got huge ratings. And Just Shoot Me, Yes Dear. Now there's shows that people just don't watch anymore. I don't even know where I would find them.
They don't quite have the staying power of The Office.
Yeah. So we were a revolutionary idea in television, no question.
And even the consensus in Hollywood at the time seemed to be that it was not the best idea to make an American version of this beloved British show, right? Did you feel any of that concern going in?
Well, no, I did not. I loved the British show, but in my head, I'm like, oh, the British show's great. Those are great 12 episodes. Bravo. Well done. Now we're going to try and make an American TV show that has to be 21 minutes and 40 seconds long so we can fit in all these commercials. And it has to go over 100 episodes that it makes money in syndication. It's an entirely different business model, entirely different than state-supported television, where they often do a series, like a season, of 6 or 10 or 12 episodes. Now, of course, we're doing that more and more with streaming. But the thing that really got me, and it's so funny, and it still exists, is there was such a snobbery about, like, the British Office is so brilliant. The Americans will certainly ruin it. They'll never be able to do it. It'll never add up. And like, ugh, why are they even trying? And it's like, I just don't understand that thinking. There's so many things to be snobby about. The new collection at the Met, or the new editor at Vogue magazine. You can be as snobby as you want, but television, you're going to be snobby about TV? The whole point of TV is it's not snobby. It's just TV. It's entertainment. You watch shit, you put stuff in your mouth, you buy the stuff that's up on the screen. That's how TV works. So it's very funny how all those snobs had to kind of like eat their hat. And it's interesting because I did another English remake that no one saw. It was called Utopia. It was on Amazon. And we did 9 episodes, and it was based off a British show that was very beloved. And it was the same thing. It's mostly the British fans. Like, how dare they remake it? It's like, dudes, no one is taking your beloved show away. You can still watch it anytime you want, as many times as you want, over and over and over again. You can watch it every day, all day long, for the rest of your life. And these other folks are going to try and make another version, and maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll suck, and maybe it'll be good. Like, I just don't understand that aspect of fandom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You must have some very intense fans to this day of The Office too. I mean, who now have embraced what the American version in this way that so much more than probably ever the British one was, right?
Even you go to England and talk to folks that are under 35, and they certainly know the BBC Office, but they're fans of the American Office. When you think The Office, that's what you think of. It's not a competition, by the way.
Right.
Ricky Gervais is a genius. So is Stephen Merchant. They created a gem, and many other shows that are also gems, like Extras, Life is Short, so many great shows. Mm-hmm. We're so grateful to their comedic genius and the path they laid. And both shows get to exist in a world, and that's a beautiful thing.
Dwight is such a specific character and became even more specific as it went on. Do you feel like you knew who this guy was right off the bat, or was there a moment when it clicked for you, or a scene that comes to mind where you felt like, oh, this is who Dwight is?
Yeah, I found him pretty easily from the get-go. And first of all, I had the British Office to pull from, and the amazing character of Gareth by Mackenzie Crook. And I got to kind of steal some of his best bits. And one of the things that Mackenzie did so well was say the most ludicrous things in the world with an absolutely straight face, without any kind of like spin on it whatsoever. And hats off to him. It was just comedic brilliance. And then I also was, I knew that Dwight needed to have a certain kind of like blue collar, white trashy kind of American sensibility that I certainly knew growing up. My dad worked at Jim Dandy Sewer Company in Seattle. My uncles were all sewermen. They were farmers back in the past. I played Dungeons and Dragons, and, my relatives all drove muscle cars, and there's just a certain kind of sensibility that I needed to tap into. And I was, it came pretty naturally to me. You have talked about in the past, and this is a big conversation about whether the show could be released in the same way today and the same types of jokes. And I think, I was listening to you talking to Brian Baumgartner, who's been on this podcast as well, where you said, yeah, I think it would get a lot of pushback in certain ways in the types of jokes. And I was curious if there was ever a storyline or something in the show that made you uncomfortable, or that you felt like, ooh, are we really going to go that far, or anything like that comes to mind? Listen, the Benihana Christmas episode where Michael and Andy draw with a Sharpie on one of the Asian women that they've brought back to the Christmas party is jaw-droppingly kind of horrific. And it's a tricky conversation,
Yeah,
it's like they're clueless, and kind of in their cluelessness, they're racist and insensitive, and they're always saying the wrong thing. And that's Michael, Dwight, and Andy, and Kevin for that matter. So it's a show based around clueless, insensitive, racist, sexist people that kind of mirrors the United States in a lot of ways. So you want to encourage it because it's funny as hell, and it also kind of like skewers a particular American sensibility, but it definitely goes pretty far if you dig deep.
Yeah.
So, could it happen today? I think it would have to be very, very different if it were made in this environment.
Yeah, and I think you even see that in the reboot, which I've gotten to see a couple episodes of. The second episode of The Office was the Diversity Day episode, which went pretty far. And there's nothing like that I can see so far in the new show. To me, I always felt like as long as the show knows that what these people are saying is wrong, then it's okay. But then you wonder, do the viewers always know that the show knows that?
That's so very well said.
Complicated, yeah.
And that's exactly right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think you need to set it up a little bit more like All in the Family, where, you've got someone who has really wrong-headed ideas, and it's showcased in a certain way that make it very clear that this person is off base and clinging to ideas from the past. You just have to do more underlining of that if you were to make The Office in this present environment. I haven't seen the paper yet, so I'm excited to see if they try and push any buttons there.
Yeah. You've also talked about how the show changed after Steve Carell left. I was curious if you ever considered leaving before those 9 seasons ended. Was that ever on the table, or something you thought, maybe I need to get out of here before the end?
Steve and I were in very, very different career situations when he left The Office, and he was going off to star in movies that he was getting paid tens of millions of dollars for. And the movies I had tried had bombed, and I didn't really have a way forward in the film world. So I was absolutely 100% going to stay on The Office as long as I could. And there was an opportunity for Dwight to get to do more too, with Michael gone. And I did get to do more. I didn't immediately run The Office, but there were different colors you saw from Dwight. And those last couple of seasons, we made a few episodes that were pretty mediocre, I would say. I don't know that we made any stinkers, but there were also some really damn funny episodes in the last couple seasons.
Yeah, I mean, one of those episodes that came towards the end is that episode that was called The Farm, which was a backdoor pilot, in a sense, for a potential spinoff years before the paper, that would have starred, you as Dwight, and potentially would have continued playing that character for a long time. I'm sure that there was some disappointment at the time that it didn't go through as a new series, but was there any relief along with that as well, that you weren't, going to continue playing this character? Were you excited to maybe do something else at that point?
Yeah, what we kept talking about was, Frasier and Cheers, and how they were able to make. One could argue that Frasier is a better show than Cheers. And Kelsey Grammer took kind of a minor character on Cheers and made him a really memorable comedic lead that's in the annals of great TV characters, Frasier Crane. And but when I have to say that you're absolutely right. You're very astute. It was 10 to 20% disappointment and 80% giant relief.
I thought it was maybe more 50-50, but
no, it was a big relief of okay, good. I'm not going to do many more seasons of Dwight. And especially because NBC at that time had a new regime that came in, and they wanted to do big, bright, flashy, splashy shows that were multicams and going back to kind of a Friends kind of thing. And they were just not interested at all in Office spinoffs at the time. And had they taken The Farm, they'd probably have another $1 billion in the bank. No one talks about that. But would it have been as good as The Office?
Fans were there and would have been eager for more.
And even right now, all the people that have seen The Office 20 times, they're going to watch The Farm at least once or twice if you've got 100 episodes. And would it have been as good as The Office? No way. Not even close. Would it have been good? Would it have been solid? Would it have been a good, solid comedy? Yeah, it would have. And we would have done some really cool stuff. And I think they really missed out. But the history of The Office and NBC has they never really got the show. I mean, and it was, honestly, it's 5 years after the show was over when all of a sudden it started being watched in the minutes in the billions on Netflix that NBC got oh, wait a minute. This is kind of a cash cow. This is actually a really good show, and it's got some legs.
Yeah, it's funny. You often think about with actors on big shows like this, like how did your life change when the show took off? And for you, it's almost like how did your life change when the show took off again, or even bigger than before? 5 years later, how did you experience that?
Yeah, it was pretty nuts, because starting around season 2 and 3 of The Office, the show took off like gangbusters. We won the Emmy. We all got a bunch of different movies. I did The Rocker and My Super Ex-Girlfriend, and a lot of movies got offered to me because of The Office and the success of The Office. And I got to host SNL. It was amazing, and multiple Emmy nominations, which I never won. Thank you. No
hard feelings.
Jeremy Piven. Enjoy your Emmy.
Piven, that hurts.
Yeah. And and then people don't remember the last 4 or 5 seasons of The Office. It really dwindled. Like, our ratings were going down. We didn't win awards anymore. Steve never won an award, and that's crazy. Which is nuts. Alec Baldwin won 9 Golden Globes and Emmys and SAG awards, and Steve was kind of left out in the cold. And and then no one was really watching The Office. We kind of petered out, and there were several years, and we all kind of thought, okay, that's great. It'll be on syndication. People will watch it. We had a great run. And then all of a sudden, about 4 or 5 years after The Office ended, I was getting recognized more than ever, and by 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds. What is going on? It's like, oh, it's on Netflix. And that's when people just started. And they loved the binge quality. It's very bingeable for some reason. Yeah. I think some shows are not as much as The Office, but people watching it over and over and over again, and getting to the end of episode 200 and starting over from the very beginning and leaving it on, sleeping with it, having it on their phones. And it became a very different thing. And, it's fantastic. What can I say? It's had so many different lives.
Yeah. We just had Beck Bennett from SNL on this podcast recently, and I was talking to him about how, I think he said something like, once you're an SNL cast member, you're always an SNL cast member. That's what you're always going to be known for. And it reminded me of The Office too. It's like, you will always be Dwight from The Office, as Steve predicted, right? It's going to be hard to do anything that overtakes that.
True.
And there's pros and cons to that, right? I mean, how do you think about that in terms of career? Like, does it open as many doors as it puts you in a box, or is there a balance there, or how do you think about it?
It's tricky. It's a really tricky balance, and I've talked about this a good amount, and I wrestle with a good amount. So many doors open for me because I played Dwight. I can go to Wimbledon, or I get a commercial campaign, or I can do an appearance or a conference at a Comic-Con and do signings and make money. Like, I'm kind of in a lot of ways set for life because I played Dwight, which is incredible. And it's beyond my wildest dreams from this dorky theater actor here in New York, never making over 17 grand a year, as an actor. It's insane. It's amazing. But the role is so iconic, and his face is one of the most memed. We just did a thing, I think it was on my social media about it, on Giphy, where you send GIFs.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's the most gift image.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's in the billions that my face is being sent to text chains, with little me shaking my head or doing karate or doing something silly.
You didn't know when you were filming those scenes that's where you were going to end up.
That exactly. Or that if you walk into a Target, you're going to see me on tea towels and bath mats.
Do you have a piece of that, or how does that work?
I have a tiny, tiny piece of that. That's what she said. And had I known, I would have negotiated much harder on my merch deal. But it's but at the same time, I'm a transformational actor. I'm not there's some actors, like let's say Michael Richards, who plays Kramer. Like that's kind of what he does. That's his kind of his shtick.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
I nothing against him. He's absolutely brilliant, but he comes at it from a stand-up improv kind of background. And I was doing Shakespeare and Eugene O'Neill. Like I'm a transformational actor. I can play roles other than Dwight, as evidenced, I hope, in Code 3, that you might see some moments of like, oh, that was kind of Dwight-ish a little bit. But mostly,
I was not thinking about Dwight watching that movie, which I think is what you want, right?
Yeah, that is what I want. So, I just hope too, especially as I age and look more different than Dwight, that there's a realm of roles that are open to me, just as a character actor, which is what I wanted to do from the get-go, is just play interesting characters and tell interesting stories. So, it's tricky. To get into stuff where I'm so identified with a guy that is on countless coffee mugs. But I hope that producers and filmmakers will be open to, a good, solid character actor.
I will say that, Oscar Nunez, your old co-star, is in this new show, The Paper, which sort of opens the door to other Office cast members reprising their roles. Is that something you could imagine, bringing Dwight back in that setting?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, The Paper's set in Toledo and it's on a newspaper. I don't know why Dwight from Lancaster County Lackawanna County would be visiting Toledo.
I'm sure they could come up with a reason.
But you're right. You're right. They could never say never. That could certainly happen. Yeah, I think it would be fun. I mean, one thing I've always said to them is, can we do a movie? Wouldn't that be fun to do like a 2-hour? We'll get like 1 billion people to watch a 2-hour like Office movie.
Is there any interest in that or traction on that? Or?
They don't really. The producers, Greg, and they just don't really think in those terms. They think of it also financially, like a movie is like, oh, I'll make.
Yeah,
X.
Nobody wants to make movies anymore.
X amount of dollars, it'll be on a streamer. It's a lot of work, and it's much more lucrative to have a show that goes year after year after year. And but I think that would be a lot of fun, and I think you could get most of the main cast to participate.
So now it's time for our segment on the show called The First Laugh. So I'm going to ask you some quicker questions, starting with the first piece of comedy that you remember making you laugh really hard as a kid growing up.
Well, I loved Jerry Lewis movies when I was a kid. And anytime I would comb the TV guide for any Jerry Lewis movies, because they would show them a lot on weekends, and I would make a note of it and I would make sure to tune in. And, I just thought he was the greatest. I was such a huge fan. And then my dad showed me Marx Brothers, and, I absolutely love the Marx Brothers.
Yeah, a lot of physical comedy. Do you feel like you learned watching those?
Yeah, I love physical comedies. One of the joys of playing Dwight is that they wrote so much great physical comedy. And I think that's one thing that I get a little pissed about. Like, people love Dwight and they love my performance as Dwight. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. But there's some physical comedy stuff that Dwight did throughout the show that I think, like, Dwight as a physical comedian, physical clown, doesn't get honored as much. There was one sequence of scenes, one of my very favorite ones, where Dwight is trying to tell if Jim has an erection, and he's like falling on him and putting his hands on his crotch, and stuff like that. I just love. So I love clowning and physical comedy, and I'm so glad I got to do it on The Office.
When was the first time that you knew that you were funny, that you could make other people laugh?
It was pretty early on. I remember, I think it was freshman year I always made people laugh in certain ways, but once when the teacher wasn't looking in history class, I think it was freshman year, there was a giant globe that was sitting in a wooden support frame, and I took the globe out and I just rolled it down the aisle towards the teacher. I don't know why I did it. I just thought it would be funny, and it really brought the house down. I got in a heap of trouble. Got my parents called.
It was worth it.
But it was hard because I was also an A student. So it was like, why is this A student rolling the globe down the
Yeah, you were bored. You were looking for a challenge.
I was mixing it up a little bit.
You mentioned your first 2 movie roles, which were in just total classics, Galaxy Quest and Almost Famous. Is there a story or memory from either of those sets that comes to mind when you think about that experience?
I mean, what an honor to be a part of those 2 classic movies. I do know that when I did Galaxy Quest, there's a scene that I did that was cut out. You can find it on YouTube. It's with me and Tony Shalhoub. And I had a bunch of techno mumbo jumbo that I had to say. And I really thought I had it memorized. Worked on it the night before and that morning driving in. And then I got to the rehearsal and it's like I couldn't remember any of the lines. All the techno mumbo jumbo just went completely out of my head. And it was like the actor's nightmare. It was one of my worst nightmares. And I was in those silver lame Thermion suits from Galaxy Quest and just trying to remember this stream of nonsense science mumbo jumbo syllables. And Sigourney Weaver's there and Alan Rickman and Sam Rockwell and Tony Shalhoub and this all-star cast. And it was brutal.
When you look back at your career, is there anything that you said no to at the time that you now think, ooh, maybe I should have said yes to that one?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I think when I was playing Dwight, I was offered a lot of scripts and comedies to attach myself to and help develop and try and get produced and get off the ground. And I said no to a lot of them because I think I was thought a little too much of myself. I was kind of like, I'm not going to do a dumb volleyball comedy, or I'm not going to do the dumb children's movie about a children's lawyer, or, that's a goofy family film. Like I want to follow in the footsteps of Jack Black and Will Ferrell and do kind of, Ben Stiller, do smarter stuff. And I said no to too much. And I wish I had just kind of seen, because it's so hard to get any movie made or financed or released or have it do well. And maybe you do the dumb comedy and it makes $200 million. And then all of a sudden it opens doors for you to do lots of other kinds of stuff. You never know. So I wish I had been better stewarded during that time period.
Were there any of those that went on to be big things that you said, oh, oops, that one actually was
none of them got made. There's nothing
Okay.
I remember turning down that got made. That's
good, I guess.
Yeah, so that is good.
The flip side, is there anything you said yes to that you now look back and go, oh, maybe I should have said no to that one?
Well, what I should have said no to was agreeing to go on the MTV Movie Awards with Megan Fox while being naked with a teddy bear strapped to my penis.
Oh my God. I do not remember that.
It happened. Yeah. And that's back when everyone was watching that. And that was, I thought, oh, that's fun. That's crazy. It's kooky. And then that image was just everywhere on the internet for a while. It was like Megan Fox looking at me horrifically as I had a teddy bear strapped to my penis. And it just wasn't very funny. And I really wish I hadn't done that.
You also mentioned hosting SNL in 2007. You had that great monologue that was everyone sort of being characters in the office, including Lorne Michaels as Michael Scott, which I quite enjoyed. That is such a unique experience hosting that show. What did it mean to you to do that, and what stands out in your memory from that week?
Yeah, I mean, how crazy is that? That 10 years previous, I had like $300 in the bank and was doing like a Shakespeare play off Broadway that had a cast of 30 and would get an average audience of about 10. That's really humiliating when you're doing a play where the cast is larger than the audience. And, and then here I am 10 years later hosting SNL at 30 Rock. And it's it's amazing. It was beyond my wildest dreams. It was an incredible experience coming down those stairs, your name, being said by what's his name, the guy who does all the voiceovers.
Yeah, Don Pardo. I think was still
Don
doing
Pardo, and the band is playing you on, and you do your monologue, and I mean and I was on with, I think, really the greatest cast. Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph and Fred Armisen and Jason Sudeikis. I mean, it was that just really amazing cast, and we did some really great sketches. I was really proud of the experience.
Do you have a story or memory about the first time you met one of your really big comedy heroes, just someone who you looked up to so much in the comedy world and getting to meet them for the first time?
Yeah. So when I was doing 6 Feet Under, we started getting invited to various premieres, and I went to the premiere of this wonderful Paul Giamatti film called American Splendor, and just love the film. And there, sitting right in front of me, was Eric Idle from Monty Python.
Yeah.
And I said to my wife, "It's Eric Idle. Oh my God." Because Monty Python was one of those things that was so important to me. It was so special. And I had a Panasonic tape recorder with a cassette in it, and I would hold it up to the television and record sketches, and then listen to them over and over again in my room, and parrot them and memorize them. And Eric Idle and his incredible songs and characters, and then we were kind of like leaving and kind of following, and I was like, "Excuse me, Mr. Idle." And then he turned and he was like, "Oh, you're wonderful on 6 Feet Under. I've been watching the show. You're delightful. It's so nice to meet you." I was like, oh my God, he recognized me. This is nuts. And that made my face melt.
The last question we ask on every episode is there a story or memory from your career that makes you laugh now, but really was not funny when it happened?
Oh boy, good question. That's such a good question. I wish I had a better answer for you off the cuff. The only thing I can think of, I'm coming back to that stupid teddy bear strapped to my dick and Megan Fox. And I can laugh now, but at the time, after I saw the photos and footage of it, I was like, oh my God, what did I do? I just demeaned myself in front of 50 million Americans. That was pretty low. I'm sorry, I can't think of anything else.
No. That's a good one. Well, Rainn, thank you so much for doing this. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I thought your new movie was really great as well. So it's been great talking with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on the show. Thanks for watching Code 3, and this has been a lot of fun. Appreciate it.